That's Bill.
Oh, Bill?
Hello.
Okay. We have the roll call.
Okay. Commissioner Ryan? Commissioner Campbell?
Here?
Commissioner Blauer?
Here.
Commissioner Jewell?
Here.
Commissioner Cook Hawkins?
She's absent, excused.
Commissioner Sorensen?
I'm here.
Commissioner Jordan?
Here.
Commissioner Wesley?
Here.
Oh, yep, we can hear.
I think that's Commissioner Ryan.
Is that Commissioner Ryan?
No,
Okay.
that was
Commissioner
Hey.
Jewell? Huh?
PC case.
Okay. We have a quorum. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? Are there any additions or changes to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, this is Kelly Thompson.
Yes, Ms. Thompson.
I just wanted to clarify for the bylaws review, if the commission wants to have a discussion and potentially vote on it this evening, then it should be placed into the agenda more than just the bylaws committee in old business. But if the commissioners want additional time to review the proposed amendments, then we can certainly table that until the next meeting. But I think we should have it somewhere more prominently on the agenda if we intend to hold discussion and a vote.
This is Commissioner Jordan.
Okay, Commissioner Jordan.
Yeah. Thank you, Kelly. I did see that you sent an email this afternoon. I didn't have a chance to read it through. So I guess my hope or preference might be that we have a chance to hear about it tonight, but that we on not taking action until everybody's had a chance to digest it.
So you think that we should
Postpone it.
yeah, where it would fit in on the agenda though? We could do that when we got to old business, couldn't we?
Mr. Chair, this is Kelly Thompson.
Yeah.
We can certainly discuss it, but I possibly under resolutions, there would be a resolution to approve if and when we hold a vote on the proposed bylaws. So that would be my recommendation, and certainly we can move it to the next meeting. But I would recommend that be included somewhere under resolutions, or somewhere, as a specific item to consider the proposed bylaws.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell. I too received, I think as everyone else did, on the email this afternoon. I'm of the opinion, similar to Commissioner Jordan, I think it would be appropriate under old business where it says bylaws committee, that Kelly can review the proposed items. I think it's appropriate for us to have a discussion. And then I think from the bylaws committee report, it may be appropriate at that time that we, as the planning commission, then make a motion to place it on our next meeting's agenda.
For a vote or further discussion?
For review and adoption.
Okay.
But I think it would be appropriate that we discuss that under our regular old business.
Okay. So there's no change really there. All right. Okay, is there any further discussion on the addition of changes to the agenda? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Chair,
This is Commissioner.
I'd like to read the motion that the agenda be accepted with additional corrections.
There's no corrections because
I mean-
we had a discussion on it and it's
Excuse me. With just, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the bylaws as written.
not the bylaws, the agenda.
I mean, the agenda. I'm reading something. I should not. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Agenda.
Is there support for
This is
motion to
George.
approve the agenda?
I'd support approving the agenda.
It's moved and properly supported. If everyone could hear me, everyone is all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 It sounds like unanimous. Next is the minutes of August 25th, 2020.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
Commissioner Campbell, I'd like to think there's something needs to be added on the last page under reports on page 5 of the bylaws. And it stated that I corrected, excuse me, I was concerned about the telephone number for that 223, and Commissioner Jordan looked that number up and said it was a viable meeting, a viable business, and that need to be added.
or I said, where you think that should be? Well, it says
Under
two,
five.
two, three.
On page 5
I got
of
that.
5, new
Uh-huh.
business, Commissioner Campbell discussed, and during that time, Commissioner Jordan looked that number up and said it was a viable business. So I think that should be put in there. So it's just like out there now. We really don't know if it's a business or not, but it is a business, ongoing business.
So where you think that should be added to?
I think it should be added right after my comments before Mrs. Thompson.
Okay, where it says at the end of where it says a business
Bu-
without a building.
Buildings while others take orders and do the deliveries. And right after that, she made a comment that she looked it up and that was a viable business.
Viable business associated with
With that with that telephone number,
that
Mhm.
223.
0700.
Okay. Are there any?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell.
Uh-huh.
Periodically throughout the minutes for August 25th, if you read them, it says commissioner, and it should be saying, at times it should be saying commissioners. So I would just recommend staff go back and review that accordingly.
Well, okay. I think on page 3 of
If you go
5,
to, yeah,
on page 3 of 5 is you got a lot of that, but on page 3 of 5, I know Attorney Thompson don't want to be referred to as Mr. That's a 1, 2, 3, 4. In the 5th paragraph, 3rd line down, it says Mr. Thompson said her
Mhm.
recommendation would be to postpone the site plan review until the next scheduled meeting. So I think that's just they just missed that. Is there anything else?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Oh, this is Commissioner Sorensen. In the minutes of September 8th,
We're on September 25th right now, Commissioner
Okay.
Sorensen.
okay, well, I can go back to that with you then.
Okay.
On page 4, the top 2 paragraphs are referring to legal ads being posted for upcoming meetings, and that would be ADS as opposed to ADDS. Top 2 paragraphs.
Okay.
Mhm.
That could add.
I'm looking at August 25th. You said page 4 at the top.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got it.
Just, I don't know if that's the type of corrections you're looking for. I suspect that you're looking for more, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, just those, I think the general,
I don't want to nitpick anybody's work because I've been a secretary before. It's not easy.
This is Commissioner Jordan. I would just have one correction, and that is on top of page 2. It's just a spelling of Kristen's name. It should be Kristen with a Kristin, and then Stevenson. So I think it's just a spelling of her name.
were you at, Commissioner Jordan, on top of page 2?
Top of page 2. Yep.
Edna Cheney, daughter, address to.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Okay. Christian. All right, anything else? Hearing nothing, Chair will entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of August 25, 2020.
This is Commissioner Jewell. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of August 25th as corrected.
Commissioner
Do I have a
Flower
support?
support.
Okay, Commissioner Blower supported. Roll.
Commissioner Campbell,
Yes, for correction. For approval.
Commissioner Blower,
Yes.
Commissioner Jewell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner Wesley.
Yes. The minutes of August 25th has been approved. Next is the minutes of September 8th, 2020.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Sorensen, just a typo on page 2, second paragraph from the bottom. Then said with ever phase, it should be every phase. That's all I saw. Thank you.
Okay, that's the second line in the second from the last paragraph. What was it again?
Yes, it should say every phase instead
Okay.
of ever. Mhm. Again, you know, this is not as easy as it looks as
Okay.
far as recording all this and putting it to type. Thank you.
Are there any other additions or corrections to the minutes of September 8th, 2020? I didn't see anything. Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of September 8th, 2020.
This is Commissioner Jordan. So moved.
It's been moved. Support.
Second, Commissioner Campbell.
It's been moved by Commissioner Jordan and approved by Commissioner Campbell. Roll.
Commissioner Ryan, Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Blower,
Abstain.
Commissioner Jewell,
Yes.
Commissioner Hawkins, Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner Wesley.
Yes. Minutes of September 8th, 2020 has been approved. Next item on our agenda is the public forum. The public is invited to take part on anything appearing on our agenda this evening. If there's anyone in the virtual world wishing to address the commission, you can do so at this time. Is there anyone wishing to address the commission? Anyone wishing to address the commission?
We have one person. If 7357, if you could click *6, that would be able to unmute you. Seven three five seven. Hello? Seven three five seven. That's the last ending, the 4 digits of your phone number.
Yeah. This is
Okay.
Councilman Griggs. I don't have anything to say.
Oh, it's Councilman Griggs, it was? I think I heard.
Yes.
Okay,
I
need to have
really don't
anything to
have
say. Okay,
No.
all right. Anyone else wishing to address the commission? Anyone else wishing to address the commission? Casey, that was the only call we
That
had
was our
out there?
only caller.
Okay. That portion of the public hearing is now closed. Next item is our site plan review. We don't have any of those, do we? No. No site plan reviews. Case reviews. Bill, there's no case reviews, are there?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. Then the next will be our public hearings. First, our public hearings, first is PC 20381, application for the Flint Planning Commission to vacate public alleyway of 1415, 1419 North Dort Highway, Flint, Michigan, parcel number 41-08239-008, and parcel number 41-08239-009, parcel number 41-08239-001, and parcel number 41-08239-002. Is the applicant present?
Yes, I am. I am here.
Okay. Tell us about this vacation.
Yes, sir. I am.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Chair, could the applicant introduce themselves,
Okay.
please?
All right, we'll get that. And you are?
I am Robert Rollinger. I'm an attorney for the applicant, capital A and capital S Properties Associates, LLC of Flint.
Okay, attorney. You are, Rollinger is
Yes.
the applicant. You are the attorney for the applicant, is that correct?
Yes. I introduced myself as the attorney for the applicant.
And you are?
I am Robert Rollinger, Rollinger, of Farmington Hills, Michigan.
Okay,
Mr. Chair,
on our information, we have Robert S. Rollinger as the applicant.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm listed as the agent for the applicant on the application. The property owner is listed as ANS Properties Associates Flint, number
Okay,
2.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Ms. Jewel, you had something you want to say?
Yeah, I had the same question that you had. My second question, and it's within your purview as the chair, since he is listed as the agent, I know in the past, usually there's been a need for some documentation if somebody else is speaking on behalf of the actual applicant or owner. But I'll leave that in your purview, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we can go with the agent speaking on behalf of the applicant, which is A&S Properties and Associates. Because I think this is going to be a pharmacy, a Rite Aid.
Mr. Chair, it's a Walgreens pharmacy.
Sorry.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
There are 4 parcels, and the 15-foot wide public alleyway traverses the property in the center of the 4 parcels. The ability to construct a 1-story building consisting of 2,650 square feet with 20 parking spaces surrounding the parcel. Other than in the area, there will be a drive-through pharmacy pickup window as part of the site plan, but there will be a total of 20 parking spaces, including handicapped access to the building. In order to construct that, where the 15-foot public alleyway is located will need to be vacated because it literally runs through the center of the property, which would interfere with the ability to construct the retail pharmacy facility. If the members of the commission have a copy of the boundary survey drawing, you can see that the alleyway terminates on the north at Ohio Avenue, and it runs south of the parcels in question.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay.
This is Commissioner Sorensen, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Sorensen, question.
Yeah, I just wanted to know how the vacation of this alley was going to affect the neighboring businesses. I just see that there's like a barbecue place next door. I just didn't know if this alley was being used by any other neighboring businesses. And are they going to vacate the current Walgreens drugstore on the corner of Davison and Dort Highway at some point?
Is the other Walgreens store in downtown Flint going to be terminated? I believe so, once this is finished and up and operating.
At the Davison and Dort Highway location.
I don't know for a fact, ma'am, but I've been advised that once this store is up and running, yes, all business operations will be shifted to the new store.
Okay.
I can also tell you that I can tell you 2 of the members of the LLC, the owners of the property, did visit the barbecue establishment you mentioned. It's listed as being at 1401 North Dort Highway. It has a listed phone number, and we prepared a petition for them to sign indicating they had no objection to this vacation taking place. They tried to reach the owners multiple times by phone. They went to the listed location on Dort Highway. The building is abandoned. There is no sign of anyone operating the barbecue. The 2 outdoor barbecue grills were unfortunately, the only thing that was there was garbage and debris that was left in the outdoor grills. There was no sign of any ownership or operation at all.
Okay, I mean, I can support that because I was by there myself just a couple days ago. just looking at the property beforehand here. And it did look like it was not operable, but they were earlier this summer. So, but it wasn't regular. So I don't know if they're gone for good, but it did look a little rough when I was by there a few days ago.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're certainly welcome.
This is Commissioner Jordan, and I just wanted to follow up on a question from Commissioner Sorensen. So you indicated that you're planning to develop a Walgreens here, and there's currently a Walgreens located 2 blocks north of this property.
Yep.
And I know that just within the last probably 3 months, 2 months, that there was another Walgreens in the southern part of Dorrit Highway that they closed that building and moved into a smaller space. So just from the standpoint of, I mean, I understand we're looking at a property vacation here and not a site plan or anything else, but just, is there anything that you can speak to? Like, there is a concern about continuing to build properties only to abandon them a number of years later. Can you speak to that and maybe give a little bit more context to why you're seeking to build another Walgreens 2 blocks from the current location?
As far as I have been advised, the new store to be built will have the latest design and features, which the current Walgreens 2 blocks north does not possess. It will be an upgraded facility, and the inventory of merchandise will be much greater than that which is available at the store 2 blocks north.
Thank you. And then the other question that I had is, can you speak directly, anytime that there's a street vacation, one of the questions I always ask is around access to property or all of the parcels that would adjoin the alley that's being vacated. So can you, I know we've got a diagram here that shows a portion of that area, but can you just, speak to any potential impact on adjoining property owners being able to access their properties?
The only area that we're seeking to have the alleyway vacated is the series of properties on both sides. That would be parcels 10 through 12 on, excuse me, the east side, and parcels 13 to 15 on the west side. Should the commission wish a larger area of the alleyway to be vacated as well, we certainly have no objection to that. Our only concern in doing so is if the fire or law enforcement or emergency vehicles needed to have ready access, should, again, I'm guessing if a customer became ill or there was a fire or something like that, if they needed to have access through the south to get to this parcel, obviously we would want to be able to accommodate both law enforcement and emergency vehicle access.
So on that point, I'm looking at the diagram that's been provided in our packets, and it doesn't show the southernmost part of that block. So just from the diagram, I cannot tell if there is another access point to that alleyway, say for the parcels 16, 17, 8, and 9. Can you speak to that point, please?
To my knowledge, that part of the alleyway is still there. And that would only be vacated as part of your resolution if that was something that you wanted done. In addition, if you wanted at the boundary of our property some type of barricade or blockage or fencing, that could be installed as well. We hadn't contemplated that because we weren't certain if city emergency vehicles wanted to have the ability to use that for ingress and egress.
Right, and so I'm not sure if I'm making myself clear. My question is, say that you get your alley vacation, will parcels 8, 9, 16, and 17 still have access to that alleyway through, say, a southern route that's not depicted on our map?
To the extent, yeah, the alleyway is only going to be vacated within the boundaries of the parcels on both sides because it literally sits in the middle of where the building would be situated. So in order to construct the building, we need all of the 5 parcels, I'm sorry, 6 parcels, and we need to have the area where the alleyway is currently located vacated so that the building can be physically situated so that it satisfies setback requirements and we can have the necessary parking area.
Okay, and you're saying that the alleyway goes through all the way to the street that would be to the south there. So what street is that? It's not Kansas.
I
But
don't
it does,
see,
because it's not on our map. That's just
Yeah.
why I'm asking. I want to make sure that if folks needed to access the alley on those other parcels, that they still are able to do so and that street goes all the way through.
All I can tell you is to the best of my knowledge, the alleyway does go in a southerly direction.
do anyone happen to know what that street is to the south of 17 and 8? I don't,
Pennsylvania and Missouri.
so it'd be Missouri?
It would probably be Missouri.
And, Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell.
Yes.
Can staff do a quick Google?
It's great that Commissioner Wesley,
Yeah.
Campbell, Jordan, this is Bill Vandercook. It is Missouri Avenue to the south, Ohio to the north, Missouri Avenue to the south.
Okay, that's what we said. I thought it was.
That's correct.
It said Missouri. And that alleyway goes all the way through to Missouri. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions from the commission to the applicant? Bill Vandercook,
Commissioner Wesley?
did you get correspondence from fire and police?
Yes, we did. If you'd like, I'd read that for the record.
Yes, please.
Okay. As far as the building inspection, there was no comments. The water department, as a water department, he wanted the applicant to be aware there's only a 6-inch water main that runs along Ohio and Meade. If they require additional water, they'll have to get permits from the Michigan Department of Transportation to tap into a bigger water main if there's a need for more water supply. As far as the fire code marshal, the fire code marshal's comments, says the Flint Fire Department requests that the existing platted 15-foot alleyway public is completely vacated. No partial alley closure creates an issue with turnaround and attempted turnarounds. That's the first thing. The second thing, there may be a request for additional water supply source if this proposed new construction project will require it to be suppressed by automatic fire suppression system. The second thing. The third thing, Flint Fire Department wants to ensure that only the existing platted 15-foot alleyway public is the only road access that is being vacated for this project. That's the fire code.
What was the first one, Bill?
And the first one was Flint Fire Department requests that the existing platted 15-foot alleyway public is completely vacated. No partial alley closure creates an issue with turnaround and attempted turnarounds.
Okay.
Traffic engineering, if you don't mind, I'll move on to traffic engineering's comments.
Sure.
Traffic engineering, Dort Highway entrance will be controlled by MDOT. Michigan Department of Transportation. City Engineering, Mark Adis, whole alley, no problem. Partial alley closure, issue with turnaround. Check consumer as energy for power or gas line easements. He's just letting the applicant know that he needs to check consumers and energy as a courtesy.
Okay. So, but they want the fires want that whole alley way vacated?
Whole alleyway, again, fire department requested the existing platted 15-foot alleyway is completely vacated.
So that'd be all the way down to Missouri then?
That's correct. Mark Adis says in city engineer, whole alleyway, no problem.
Okay. Other questions from the commission to the applicant?
This is Commissioner Jordan again. So Bill, thank you for that. And so it sounds like two city departments are recommending that if we were to approve or recommend approval of a vacation, that it would be for the entire alley.
Correct.
Do we know who owns the other properties that adjoin the alley?
We have the records of who owns those individuals. We put the legal ad in, and there was a public notice that was set out, mailed out to those individuals. So yes, we have those owners of those properties.
You didn't get any response back from those other owners?
We got one response back that when we're ready to read into the public record that we can do that, Commissioner Wesley.
Yes. Well, have you read it into the public record when we get to the public portion of the of this application.
Okay.
Any other questions from the commission to the applicant? Any other questions from the commission to the applicant? Okay. Thanks to the applicant. Is there any, we'll open it up for the public hearing. Is there anyone in the public wishing to oppose the vacation of PC 20-381, application from the Flint Planning Commission to vacate the public alleyway at 1415 and 1419 North Dordt Highway. Parcel numbers 41-08-239-008 and 41-08-239-009 and 41-08-239-001 and 41-08-239-002. Anyone in the public wishing to oppose? Anyone wishing to oppose? Casey, is there anyone on the line?
So we have a 1106. If you can press *6 to unmute.
Are you there?
Yes,
And your comment?
nothing.
Okay,
I
thank you.
just logged in.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone wishing to oppose? That portion of the public hearing is now closed. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the vacation of 1415 and 1419 North Dordt Highway with the parcel numbers that's already been read into the record? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Mr. Vandercook,
Yes,
at this time, you want to read the correspondence that you have received?
I misspoke, Commissioner Wesley. That's for the next cases.
Oh, that's for the next cases.
Yes.
Okay,
But Commissioner Wesley, as a point of order, I don't know if is the applicant just for that alley vacation between the properties, or can it be considered for the whole alleyway?
that would be part of the discussion. Well, that's a recommendation of both fire department. That's a recommendation of the fire department for the whole alleyway
Okay.
vacation. That'll be a discussion between the commissioners as to what they would like to see happen. At the time for we get into our deliberations and discussion of the applicant's request for the vacation. So if no one wishes to speak in favor. And Casey, that was the only person on the line for
Yes.
this? Okay. That portion of the public hearing is now closed. It's open for discussion. What is the desire of the commission?
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell.
Yes.
Just as a clarification, as I've normally done, Bill, is it a correct statement that there have been no other communications, emails, or phone calls regarding this particular public hearing?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
What is the desire of the commission? And we understand that is the fire department requesting, I think, was that also, Bill, if I'm correct, Flint Police also? Or
That was the the engineer.
traffic engineering?
That was the city engineer. The city
engineering.
Yeah,
For the total vacation of the total alleyway, is that correct?
that's correct.
And fire,
In fire, yes.
okay. What is the desire of the commission?
This is Commissioner Jordan. This is maybe an inquiry towards staff. I'm trying to remember if we've ever had a situation before where we've considered vacating a portion of a street where the applicant doesn't own all of the adjoining property. And if there's any potential concern with doing so.
Commissioner Jordan or Wesley, I would have to research that. With
Yeah, the
Assistant Attorney Kelly Thompson.
Yeah, the concern that I would have is that, you know, city engineering and the fire department is requesting that if we vacate the parcels requested by the applicant, their concern is their turnaround of their vehicles and I, you know, I guess that would also go with, you know, like garbage pickup and anything else that would go back in that alley that they may have to go through there and pick up from city. Is Attorney Thompson on the line?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm here.
What do you think?
So I don't have the materials that the commission has reviewed, the application packet or
Okay.
the staff report. So I can get some information on this and get back to the commission, but until I have that, I can't really give an opinion one way or the other.
All right.
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell.
Okay.
There have been situations in the past where during a public hearing, process, we've reached this same point where we've needed additional information to appropriately and comfortably make a decision. And what we've usually done before in the past is to, I don't want to use the word postpone, or to, and I'm not sure what the right word is, but we have done in the past where we've postponed a decision regarding this public hearing till our next meeting based on the additional information that we had requested. So in the past, we have conducted aspects of the public hearing, then at the next meeting got the additional information, and then continued the public hearing for a decision.
So what's information specifically are we looking for?
Well, it's my understanding there's actually two arenas. One is the question that Commissioner Jordan raised about the status of additional property owners and input from them. And yes, and Bill, you can correct me, it's my understanding information was sent to them, in which we have not heard back or received any information.
That's correct.
But I guess the concern would be here, would they know that the whole alleyway is going to be vacated as opposed to a partial vacation of that alleyway?
And that's the obstacle, because if the other owners were under the assumption that it was not going to affect their particular parcels, they may not have seen that at the case. However, as both the city engineer and the fire department is recommending, that if we vacate the alley, that they're recommending total vacation of the entire alley. So my concern is just that of process, and input.
This is Commissioner Jordan. I think that I'm on about the same wavelength there in terms of one is looking into the, just making sure that there's nothing that could turn around and bite us in terms of approving a vacation where not all of the adjoining properties are owned by the entity requesting the vacation. That's one question. The second is, acting on an entire alley vacation when what's in the application and what was posted is only a portion of that, and whether that's anything that we might need to take a look at.
Okay.
So this is Commissioner Jewell again. It may be appropriate, and I'd like to hear some feedback from my fellow commissioners of the option of postponing the remainder of the public hearing till our next meeting to, one, get additional information, and as Kelly, as the attorney said, needed time to review. Thoughts from our other commissioners?
This is Commissioner Blauer. I would like to have any comments from tonight's meeting included into the public hearing, but I think just making a decision and not opening it back up for comment, I think we're going to get additional information that may trigger additional comments. Is it unfair to kind of stop public comment tonight for a decision at the next meeting?
Well, Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell. It's my understanding the applicant has presented, we've asked clarifications from the applicant. You have opened both for those opposed and those in support for public comment, which has done. And now they're in the public hearing process. We're in the deliberation stage. So I'm not seeing us reopening the public hearing for additional input. We're just looking for additional input for our decision-making process. It's my understanding it would be appropriate, if need be, that we can ask for additional clarification from the applicant. But it's my understanding we're now in the deliberation stage and phase.
Yeah, if, if we get some additional information from those other property owners, and information already been sent out to them, but they, the question still remain, did they understand that their understanding it didn't affect their property, just those parcels was up to their property, but not including their property. And when they find out that the commission is looking into closing the total alley, that might require some input from those other property owners. So I'm not opposed to having some comments from those other property owners for the record, for our deliberations.
Mr. Chair, this is Kelly Thompson.
Yeah, Kelly.
I concur with your assessment. If notice to neighboring residents was somehow inadequate or didn't describe the nature of the alleyway to be vacated, then I believe it would be appropriate for the commission to take comments from those residents at the subsequent hearing if we decide to postpone.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
yes.
And the Commissioner Joel here, and it would be my understanding we're doing that within the context of our deliberations.
Yeah, that could be, yes. But if they want to make comments, then they could make comments to the commission.
To the commission, which is then we're seeking specific information for that specific scenario for our deliberations.
Correct. Okay. But they would have an opportunity to make comment. So what is the desired commission as it relates to PC 2381?
Mr. Chair, I will make a motion.
Go ahead.
I move postponement of PC 2381, an application to vacate a public alleyway of 1415 through 1419 North Dort Highway, Flint. That's parcels 4108, 239, 008, 09, and 001 and 002. That's a postponement to our next scheduled meeting.
Commissioner Campbell, second.
Is it moved and properly seconded? And the reason for this postponement is to notify those property owners that it will affect, which I believe is parcels number 16, 8, 17, 9. 16, 9, and 17, 8. Those parcels that abuts that alleyway also. So we can notify them and let them know that the action that the commission is considering would affect the total alleyway, which would include their parcels.
And also a review of the comments made by city staff.
Okay. So
And Mr. Chair,
yes.
yeah, Mr. Chair, it's also my understanding that Kelly, as the commission's attorney, had made a recommendation of reviewing, and it may be also appropriate for her to make comment.
Okay, at the time we come back for our next regularly scheduled meeting.
Correct.
Okay, I will, at this time, to the applicant, is
Yes,
our, you understand that the motion that's on the floor is that this matter be postponed until our next regularly scheduled meeting? Is that okay with you?
That's what I understand you to be considering at this time. As a point of order, is it fair to say that this postponement is based upon the recommendations from two of the departments rather than from the applicant?
That is correct.
Okay. I just wondered, is there some way to make that clear with respect to the next meeting, at which point the deliberations would take place, so that if anyone was concerned, they would understand that it was motivated by departmental recommendations rather than from the applicant?
That is fine.
Thank you.
Okay.
Chairman Wesley, this is
Yes.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, kind of to that point, I know that the applicant in the verbal presentation made reference to being willing to take the entire alley if that ended up being a potential concern, and it sounds like from the two departments that it was a concern. Do we need to have any sort of updated application materials that would put that in writing?
I don't know. We need the only updated material I see would be from notification of those other parcels from them. I don't know if it'd be anything that staff would have to include in their report to us, other than any feedback that they've gotten from those other parcel folks. Is that?
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell. In a follow-up to Commissioner Jordan's commentary, the applicant did present this evening that they would be receptive to a complete vacation. I would not see any difficulty for the applicant submitting to staff comments to that effect, because it's something that they did state at the public hearing.
To the applicant, Mr. Rollinger,
Yes, sir.
is that something that you said that you guys have no objections to that?
We have no objection to it if that is something that the commission believes should be included as part of its deliberation. We don't know if that's the case, and we don't know how strongly the commission members feel if that is a necessity in order to approve the application that was submitted.
Mr. Chair, I appreciate the applicant's agent's response. However, I'm just looking at something very simple. I'm not looking at clarifications of the clarification of the clarification. I'm just looking at a statement that was already publicly made that the applicant is receptive and accepting of a total vacation.
What I think is that could be part of our minutes.
Okay.
That's already been recorded. Okay.
That would be fine with me. I just want to make sure that we've got all of our concerns addressed, so that we can effectively say that we've addressed all related concerns.
Okay. All right. I'll call for the vote. All in favor of postponement of PC 20-381 to our next regularly scheduled meeting? Roll.
Commissioner Ryan, Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Blauer,
Yes, for postponement.
Commissioner Jewell,
Yes, for postponement as noted.
Commissioner Hawkins, Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes, for the postponement.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner George Wesley, I'm sorry.
Yes. Okay, to the applicant, this matter has been postponed till our next regularly scheduled meeting, which will be
October 13th.
October 13th. Very good.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We'll see
Thank
you
you.
then.
Mm-hmm. All right, next item on our agenda is PC 20382. SD Flint, number 3, LLC, requests a Group E special regulated use permit for a marijuana facility, medical marijuana facility at 1871 Tower, Flint, PID 41 16303-018. Is the applicant present?
Yes, I am.
Tell us about your group.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
this is Commissioner Jewell. Could the applicant introduce themselves? Because I have a question based on some stuff on the application form.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. My name is Robert Schaefer. I'm the owner of SD Flints. And I've also got with me Webb Barton, and I've got Jacqueline Moore and legal counsel Chris Payne.
Okay. All right, that's fine. Mr. Chair, I'm okay. I'm fine.
Okay.
Just double checking everything.
2, 3. Okay, to the applicant, tell us about your request for the Group E special regulated use for
Yes.
a medical marijuana facility.
Right. Yeah, we're requesting that additional license or in our facility there. We're going to have all 3 of the activities going on in that facility there. My background has been in developing properties. I'm an automotive guy to start with, but I've been developing properties in Pontiac and then now in Flint for the last 4 years. And we've eliminated blight in a number of areas that we've been involved with. I don't know if you're familiar with the area, but there are things that can be improved. And what we'd like to do is improve the area, improve our facility. It's a pretty good sized facility for our operation, and we'd like to add that. We're petitioning the council to add that license to our facility.
Okay. Questions from the commission to the applicant?
This is Commissioner Jordan. I wondered if you could, one of the things that I always like to ask applicants is that that you're aware that as part of the relicensing process, if you were to get granted this license now, that in a year's time, you would be expected to report back on what your actual results were regarding some of the public benefit things that you identified in your application. So for example, you had a goal of having 75% of your employees be City of Flint residents. You talked about paying those workers a living wage, which you defined in the proposal as 200% of the poverty rate. Are you aware that you would be asked at the time of relicensing to report back on what the actual results were relative to those items?
Yeah, and actually we welcome it. For the people that know me and people that know what we've done, I'm very happy to report what we've been able to do. And our policy has always been to hire Flint people. We've hired over 100 people over the last few years out of Flint. And our priorities are Flint residents first, but people with Flint association. So I think that's going to be not an easy thing to do necessarily, but it's certainly going to be something easy to report. As it relates to the other items, I have no problem reporting any of the other items. We'll be as accurate as we can be with any of that. And of course, I can't say that we'll achieve everything all the time, but you'll certainly have the right data, so that we can have a discussion about the data. I think that's what's most important about that.
Other questions from the commission to the applicant?
Yes, Commissioner, Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell. Mr. Schaefer, this particular permit request is for a medical marijuana facility.
Correct.
Okay. Walk me through your facility and your organization. I know nothing about you, okay? And so you're going to tell me about your organization. I'm going to knock on the door and you're going to walk me through the process.
All right. If we're talking about specifically which area were you most concerned about? Yeah, are you talking about the retail side of things as you would walk into there as opposed to the operational side of things from cultivation or processing?
No, I'm talking about your special regulated use permit for medical marijuana.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear about that. What I'd like to do, Webb, would you mind addressing, I'm sorry, Jacqueline, would you mind addressing that question?
Absolutely. So to introduce myself, my name is Jacqueline Moore. I have a PharmD, which means I'm a doctor of pharmacy and also heavily involved in medical cannabis in other states. What we are first and foremost really is a cornerstone of operations is compliance. And so making sure that we're hitting the mark with both state and local ordinances. When you are greeted at the door, the front door, we certainly make sure that you fit the requirements of what a qualified or qualified patient would be, providing ID documentation and any other information that would be required prior to entry. Once you gain entry to the facility, you're really going to be in the lobby or waiting area. This is really a very professional space. You're gonna just imagine a lot of educational pamphlets and information, a large screen TV with various videos and other things talking about cannabinoids and other, medicinal aspects of cannabis. And what you're going to feel is a level of safety, because we will have, security guards present at all times. They're really there to monitor and be aware of situational awareness, but certainly you have the one-on-one aspect of dealing with a patient attendant. Patient attendants by qualification typically have and will be trained to have these interactions with patients. First and foremost, when you're coming in as a patient, a lot of times there are conditions or things that maybe you see and other times you don't see. So the first level of training for these patient attendants are going to be understanding how to handle and deal with patient care. Once we put you in the queue, because right from the time you walk in to the time you walk out, everything is entered into a recording system. So we know exactly what patients are coming in at what time, what quantities and products that they're purchasing. This is the required inventory and seat to sale tracking component of the operation. So once you come into the sales room, that's where you get to actually see for the first time products and talk one-on-one and be able to get into the nuances of any of the products that are available. All sales are executed in the sales room. All products are stored in secured displays. And when we're not operational, products will be stored as per 50-183 in safes when we're not, when the store is closed. And then you will be promptly asked to, or escorted to the door to leave. But everything is under full camera view. Every part of the facility and the premise in its entirety is all under camera. There's layers of security measures that are built into the operation and actually into the floor plan. And so I hope that gives you a little bit of a snip of what to expect.
Okay. Jacqueline, thank you ever so much. I appreciate that. Mr. Chair, if I may continue, Mr. Schaefer, let's go back to the scenario of walk me through the business, the organizational structure and setup.
Okay, specifically on the provisioning center, right?
Business plan.
No, we're talking about the medical marijuana facility.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand what you're looking for from me.
I need to know your organizational setup. Give me an overview of how you're organizationally set up, how you're going to be operating.
Okay.
Would that include a floor chart? That's what Commissioner Jewell, you're asking for?
Right. Well, in all fairness, I mean, I've read the materials. I just want to hear from Mr. Schaefer a synopsis of his operations.
Well, okay. I'll try to give you a synopsis as succinctly as I can without the information sitting in front of us that I believe you're looking more for. My philosophy, I'll call it, as an organization. As team members, we're all going to be organized under my direction, and I hire typically the best people for each operation. They're all trained. Every single employee is trained in their specific activities. So I'm going to have people that are responsible for specific operational activities, for the processing activities, for the cultivation activities, and they all report to me.
Okay, Mr. Schaefer, I appreciate that, but I'm not focusing on the growing or anything. I'm just focusing on the medical marijuana facility and the organizational aspects of that.
Okay, so again, I will have.
Are you the? Let me start. Are you the CEO of the organization? Is SD Flint number 3 a subcomponent of the larger organization?
All the SDs are. I am the leader and license holder and the CEO of all of the organizations. However, in each particular organization that I'm involved with, there is a manager of that department or that specific part of the organization. So the one who will be managing that particular part of the organization, meaning provisioning center, will be a subject matter expert that is yet to be determined, because we obviously been working on this for a couple of years, and we've had a couple people in place, but we could not hold them in place. So the team that you see here, the 4 of us, will be selecting the person who will be running the day-to-day operation of that. Does that answer your question?
You're giving me the presentation.
Okay. So I don't have that person in place right now. In the void of that, I will be that leader.
Okay.
So
number of staff.
May I chime in?
Operational hours.
Jacqueline, you want to jump in on the specific?
Okay. Yes, thank you so much. So this is where we really drill down on the compliance side with City of Flint ordinances. So operating hours are very specific in 5183 for provisioning or retail locations, which is 8 to 7 Monday through Saturday, and then 12 to 6 on Sunday. We are fully aware that even if there are multiple licenses in the same complex, that there are no common entrances between what patients, have access to as far as the retail location. Fully understand and will be compliant with and post signs that discuss that consumption on premises is completely prohibited. And then in addition to the appropriate signage, this is where we would also take the opportunity to post that we are fully engaged with the Cat Eye security requirements of the city. Of course, let's see, I'm just trying to think of anything else. I think that pretty much hits the mark. And then as far as the number of employees, what we're looking at is an annual payroll budget of about 600,000, which turns out to be about 50,000 per month. That is divided amongst the administrative team and 15 specific provisioning center employees. And this is where, as part of the organizational chart, you do have the CEO, Chief Compliance Officer, COO, and then the CFO. And then it all kind of builds out after that, including a key component for security. I hope that answers the question. Thank you.
Well, as my colleagues are well aware, I always like to ask applicants to walk me through. Anyone can put together a nice packet and you can read it. I like to hear from the folks involved how they're going to be operating, just like you would for any business.
I understand that, and I like a plan too, but the truth is, it's always about execution. And as a business person for over 40 years, I'm always concerned about operational execution. So I understand and I appreciate your question.
Thank you ever so much.
Other questions to the applicant from the commission? Other questions to the applicants from the commission? Hearing none, I'll open this one up for the public hearing. Is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of PC 20382? SD Flint, number 3, LLC requests a Group E special regulated use permit for a medical marijuana facility at 1871 Tower, Flint, PID 41-16-303-018. Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? KZ, is there anyone on the line that in relationships to PC 2382?
No.
That portion of the public hearing is now closed. Anyone wishing to oppose? Anyone wishing to oppose PC 20382 SD Flint, number 3, LLC requests a Group E special regulated use permit for a medical marijuana facility at 1871 Tower, Flint, PID 41-16-303-08018. Anyone wishing to oppose? Anyone wishing to oppose? As always, KZ, any one out there in relationship to PC 382?
There is no one on the line. However, we did receive a comment.
Okay. You want to read that comment into the record?
Okay, Bill, do you want to?
Bill?
This is Bill Vandercook. I have the
Yes.
letter. It's from Brian Asseltine. It says, I'm the owner of Superior Gun Drilling at 1830 Kelso Street, Flint, Michigan. I also have property bordering 1871 Tower Street. I'm concerned about the zone request and why a provisioning center would be a good idea in a commercial zone. Superior Gun Drilling has been in business for 35 years in Flint. I service the medical device, aerospace, food industry, locomotive, and heavy equipment industries. This is a commercial zone D6, not for the general public and their associated traffic. I do not agree with inviting these cannabis cowboys with their cash crops to an industrial corridor. I do not feel it's a good idea, and I therefore am against these rezoning applications.
Bill, who's that again?
That's from Brian Asseltine, spelled Aseltine.
ESEL.
Aseltine.
Uh-huh.
Asseltine.
Okay. And he was the owner of?
The owner of Superior Gun Drilling, Gundrilling, Gun Drilling.
Okay. Any other comments, Bill, you might have?
There are no other comments that we've received, Mr. Wesley.
Thank you. That portion of the public hearing is now closed. What is the desire of the commission? What is the desire of the commission as to PC 20382 SD Flint number 3 LLC requested a Group E special regulated use permit for a medical marijuana facility at 1871 Tower, Flint, Michigan.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to accept the PC 20-382 SD Flint number 3 LLC requesting a Group E special regulated use permit for medical marijuana facility at 1871 Tower. Parcel ID number 41-16-308-018.
Do I hear support for the motion?
Commissioner Campbell, support.
It's moved and
Second motion.
properly moved and supported that PC 20382 be approved. Discussion? No discussion. Hearing none, I'll call for the roll, for the vote.
Commissioner Ryan, Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Blauer,
Yes.
Commissioner Jewell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook Hawkins, Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner Wesley.
Yes. To the applicant, that one, PC 20382 has been approved.
Thank you.
Next
you.
item is PC 20383 SD Flint number 2 LLC request for a Group F special regulated use permit for a processing marijuana facility at 1871 Tower, Flint. PID is 41-16-303-018. The applicant present.
Yes, sir. My name is Robert Schaefer, and I am,
Schaefer,
yes,
okay.
Robert Schaefer, and as it relates to SD2 and SD4, my main consultant advisor is Webb Barton, and between the two of us, we'll answer any of your questions.
Okay, tell us about the processing facility.
So, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Great.
Can't see you, but I can hear you.
This is Webb Barton, and I work for Mr. Schaefer. And the processing facility will be a 1,670 square foot facility that is part of Mr. Schaefer's vision for what we're calling a medical marijuana campus. And it will operate both physically and financially independent from the other businesses within the building. It will follow all medical marijuana state law, both state and local law, in regards to there's no physical ability to move back and forth between the different businesses other than through the secured front entrance and being properly checked in. That said, the facility will act as an overall, I own a very similar facility in another state. We call it in Michigan, it's not a vertical license. These are obviously separate horizontal licenses. However, I've got a vertical license in another state where all of these disciplines, i.e. provisioning and processing and cultivation, fall under a single license. And what we have found is that it gives employees the ability to ultimately find what best fits their skill set. So we envision the processing license and the provisioning license, which was just approved, as a piece, an integral piece, an independent but integral pieces that work together for the benefit of the city. So when an employee comes in and gets hired through the processes that we've outlined in the application, if, for example, that person ended up not being happy working within a processing facility for whatever reason, and felt that maybe they were a better fit for a retail environment, then we could make that recommendation to the retail manager, the retail operator, SD Flint 3 in this case, and send them over there so that what this does is it really creates an environment where an employee has a much greater success of long-term employment. And that's really what we envisioned this to be all about, is working towards the success of the employee over the long term and creating a campus where the odds of long-term success and the ability to earn a living wage and the contribution of the overall business vision to the community exponentially increases. So that's the big vision. As far as just the more focused, processing is just a value add to the cannabis flower that would be grown in the yet to be discussed SD Flint number 4. And the processing facility would purchase the flower either from SD4 or from another cultivator within Michigan, is allowed by Michigan law, everything within Michigan law. And they would process it and add value to it. And then that would either be sold to the provisioning center that was just discussed locally, or to another provisioning center, either in Flint or in the greater state of Michigan as allowed by law. Are there any more specific questions than that?
Questions from the commission to the applicant?
This is Commissioner Sorensen.
Yes, Commissioner Lawrence.
I just, how many other facilities do you own, Mr. Schultz?
I'm the majority owner of one other facility, which is a substantial facility. It's much larger than this one, or this proposed facility rather. Obviously, it hasn't all been approved yet. And then I'm partners in 2 others. I'm not the majority owner, I'm just a partner. So
Okay.
This is my only facility.
Experience with all aspects of this business in very highly regulated environments.
Okay,
This is my only facility of this type.
okay. You're first and only.
My first and only.
Okay.
If I can comment on that, because that's a really interesting question. You know, there was on the SD3, the provisioning center, the neighbor made a comment about the cowboy aspect of this business. And what we have worked very hard to do, both and the reason that Mr. Schaefer chose to work with me is because we have worked very hard to shed that cowboy image and bring in an image of professionalism, and not just an image, but execution. I mean, if you read our applications, they're good applications. I mean, these things, and these applications are based on experience. A lot of people who apply for these licenses, they essentially go out and pay for what we call boilerplate applications. But in this instance, when Mr. Schaefer decided to align himself with both myself and Dr. Moore, and we worked with Mr. Schaefer to put these applications together. These are real world experience applications. These weren't gone out and just purchased as boilerplate. And it's like, okay, here they are, but we really don't understand them. Just the opposite. And this is a very, very professional operation as proposed and in other locations as executed. And like Mr. Schaefer, I come from a very varied background. I do not come from a marijuana background. I come from a venture capital and an investment background. And I can tell you that when this facility is up and running, it will probably be one of the most professionally run businesses in the city of Flint, other than or equal to state government or a hospital. That's how tight this business will be.
Okay. Any questions from the commission to the applicant?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell.
Yeah.
Is it Barton? Mr. Barton?
Yes, Mr. Jewell, it's
Yes.
Mr. Barton.
Yeah, thank you ever so much. As in the first application, walk me through the facility. I'm there. Walk me through. Tell me what's happening.
Sure. So first of all, as previously stated, the facility is essentially, it is individual businesses as required by Michigan state law. So
Correct.
right. So the overall facility, there is no what I would call intermixing of employees. Every business is siloed. So when you're entering the processing facility, first of all, to go up to the 30,000 foot level, the entire facility, as Mr. Schaefer and I envision it, the businesses and the way that the financial pro forma was built is all the businesses will contribute to what we call overall campus security. And we have a 960 square foot separate office for security that will be staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so there will be overall security for all the businesses, because the businesses, obviously, especially the provisioning, won't run 24 hours a day. The cultivation could. In other locations, our cultivation businesses actually do run, some of them, 24 hours a day, because the plants, for various reasons I won't go into here. But for provisioning, for SD2, for processing, it will also have, when it's operational, will have its own security, individual security staff. The only employees, there will be no public allowed into this facility. The employees will enter through what we call a man trap, which is under the observation of a security officer. There they swipe their badge. And this is something that we do in our other facilities as well. It identifies the employee, who obviously the security person is going to know who they are anyway, but similar to a military base, regardless of whether or not they're personally recognized, they have to have active, valid ID. They swipe that logs them in. They enter the facility. It's relatively small. Like I said, it's only 1,600 square feet. There will only be a few people in there working at a given time. And they will each person will specialize in a given task, whether that be packaging or whether that be an extraction or an edible or whatever is allowed by state law. Each employee will have their own specific task, and those tasks will be triggered based on a salesperson who will be out in the greater Michigan area talking to the provisioning centers on what they need, and hopefully everything gets pre-sold. In a perfect world, I know that that's what's going on now. There's a real vacuum right now. The provisioning centers in Michigan, because of the demand, cannot get what they need and are incredibly under inventoried. So in theory, The inventory would be being met via pre-sales, and then it would interact as allowed by state law with a transportation license. And it would get loaded up through the inventory officer, and it would go to a provisioning center, and it would check into the provisioning center and be out of our hands. So the chain of possession would be purchase raw material from a cultivation center, check it in through the processing center as mandated by state law, all tracked through the Michigan State tracking system, which interfaces with the regulatory agencies all in real time, everything under camera, everything stored, all the video footage stored. Nowhere inside anywhere in this building are there any video shadows, what we call shadows, where somebody can escape, being monitored by video. The raw material would then be processed into the final value add product, and it would be sold to a provisioning center, go through the chain of command through the Michigan State tracking system, and transported through a transportation, even let's just say hypothetically you had SD Flint number 3 provisioning, purchasing product from SD Flint number 2 processing, it would still be moved through a transportation license. So that is, and it would be, it's an 8-hour-a-day job. The processing jobs would be relatively conventional, what I call a conventional job, unlike cultivation, because plants require typically more flexible hours and et cetera. Processing would be a great job for a single parent who needed to, for example, drop kids off and pick them up from school. I say that because with my other license that I operate, we go to great lengths to attract single parents, because we do understand and have the ability on how to set hours around their needs. And it's easy to do. You just have to understand what their needs and wants. It's easy.
I just want to interrupt you for a second, Webb. This is probably the area that I'm most excited about, because I believe this is what we are best at as a native Michigander and a person who's very concerned about a tier 2, tier 3 type supplier, where we know how to make things. And I believe this is the best opportunity for increased jobs for the city of Flint also. We obviously need to be compliant with all of the city and state regulations. However, I believe that we can grow this part of our business very strongly because of our history. We know how to make things, we know how to package things, we know how to distribute things. Flint is decidedly a wonderful location. It's one of the reasons why the highway system is so excellent, et cetera. We're not in, obviously, the transportation business, but if we can grow that part of the business, that's probably the area that I'm most excited about.
Okay.
So, Mr. Jewell, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, the only closing question that I have is waste management.
Right. So waste management is it's obviously highly regulated. We go into depth on each of the applications in regards to the waste management. In regards to processing, to stick to the SD2, because that's obviously waste management is much more sophisticated on the cultivation side. There is very little waste in the processing process, and all of it will strictly adhere to all state laws, and it's all tracked. When it's really the only waste that you're going to have is what we call expended plant material, where all THC has been removed, and then you have essentially just an inert, expended plant material. And That will all be handled per Michigan state law and as required by the license. And it's all tracked. It's all very, very carefully weighed, pre and post processing. We keep very careful logs of the whole process. It's all done under camera. So there is really no opportunity, not to mention a desire for any of the waste to get channeled in a direction where it shouldn't be channeled.
Thank you ever so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from the commission? Any other questions from the commission? That portion of that public hearing is now closed. We open up for the public comment. Is there anyone in the public wishing to speak in favor of PC 20383 SD Flint number 2 LLC request a Group F special regulated use permit for a processing marijuana facility at 1871 Tower, Flint, Michigan? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? KZ, did we pick up anyone from the last one?
There's no one.
That portion of the public hearing is now closed. Anyone wishing to oppose? PC 2383 SD Flint number 2 LLC request for a Group F special regulated use permit for a processing marijuana facility at 1871 Tower. Anyone wishing to oppose? Anyone wishing to oppose? Mr. Vandercook, did the letter received from
Brian Asseltine?
Yeah, Asselton applies to 382 and 383 and 384?
Yes,
Yes.
it does, Commissioner Wesley.
It does? Is that what I
Yes.
heard you say?
That's correct.
Okay. Then I make sure that, well, that letter will be added to the file for 383. Casey, is there anyone on the line as opposition to oppose 383? Okay. That portion of the public hearing is now closed. What is the desire of the commission? What is the desire of the commission?
I'll make a motion.
Go
I heard
ahead,
two.
Commissioner.
No, that's fine. You can have this one. I had the first one. Thank you.
Oh,
Chair.
courteous. Thank you. This is Commissioner Jordan. I would move approval of PC 20-383 SD Flint number 2 LLC requesting a Group F special regulated use permit for a processing marijuana facility at 1871 Tower, PID 4116303018.
Do I have support for the motion?
Support. Commissioner
Support for
Campbell?
Commissioner Campbell. Any further discussion? Any discussion? Close, call for the vote. Roll.
Commissioner Ryan, Commissioner Campbell,
Yes.
Commissioner Blauer,
Yes.
Commissioner Jewell,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook Hawkins, Commissioner Sorensen,
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan,
Yes.
Commissioner Wesley.
Yes. To the applicant, PC 2383 SD Flint number 2 LLC request for a Group F special regulated use permit for processing marijuana facility at 871 Tower have been approved. Next item is PC 20384 SD Flint number 4, request for a Group F special regulated use permit for a growing marijuana facility at 1871 Tower, Flint, Michigan, PID 41 16 303 018. To the applicant, tell us about the growing facility at this location.
Yes, my name is Robert Schaefer again. This is SD4. I was very glad to meet Webb Barton through a mutual friend. And I am not a farmer. I have heard so many pitches on how the best way is to grow this, and I've looked at so many different ways with all the different combinations. And we have elected to go with a sophisticated grow system that I am unfortunately not truly an expert to describe it as well as Webb can. I'm happy to try and answer any question, but I don't want to overpromise anybody. I am going to be learning about the growing aspects of this. Webb, do you want to take your best shot at this, and I'll try to answer any other questions that are come in?
Sure, and I'll try to keep it succinct because it's a very involved subject. But essentially, not to be redundant, again, this will be a siloed business within an overall medical marijuana campus. We being my business that I built from ground up, that I've been working on for 6 years. We are on the forefront of what we call clean room technology. And because all of the states, as everyone's aware, this is a federally illegal business. And what we believe is going to happen is that when it becomes federally legal and the USDA and the FDA get involved, which they will, they're already becoming incredibly involved with hemp, as you may or may not follow. The testing regulations and the cultivation regulations are going to become much more strict than they are at the state level. And the way we build our facilities is that we anticipate and are ready to meet federal guidelines as we can only, it's a very educated guess, but as we can guess that what those guidelines might be, and then whatever we haven't met, we can adapt very quickly. So we treat our plants as a medicine. And because we believe in medical marijuana as a program. And we have very sophisticated air exchange systems. We have a very sophisticated grow environment. And the plants, we treat them as, the plants are a base material to create medicinal products. And, obviously when in theory, the business eventually morphs into partially recreational, we still approach it the same way, which is people are consuming this product and they deserve to know that it's the best product. And that's how we intend on separating ourselves from the pack and being successful. And I can tell you we are going to be successful, and Flint is going to be associated with it. So that's the high level view of the plants, of how we treat the plants themselves. From a employee standpoint and an operational standpoint, again, very identical to SD2 processing. an employee will check into the site-specific security with their ID badge. They're tracked throughout the entire day in terms of where they are and what they've done, et cetera, to meet all state guidelines. Every plant is barcoded and tracked, every single one, through its entire life, from the moment it's a seed all the way through sales, seed to sale tracking. I've got extensive experience with it and have literally never lost track of a single plant, and have dealt with and am dealing with thousands of them. And this license is a single class C, which is only 1,500 plants. So we're very confident that there will never be shrinkage within our inventory. And from an employee standpoint, what's really exciting about Cultivation is that, again, what we've learned, and when we went into this business, we weren't anticipating this, but what we've learned is we can stagger because it's all obviously indoors, we can stagger our grow in the size of our flower rooms, which are on 12-hour on, 12-hour off cycles, so that if we have let's just say half the employees, for example, want to work the night shift for whatever reason. They're going to school during the day, they have family obligations during the day, they're night owls, whatever it is. We can custom tailor the growing process in the hours of the grow. And I touched on this earlier as to why Cultivation, like for example, at our other grow, which is 30,000 square feet to put it in perspective, and this one is 5, and we're adding to it right now. We custom tailor it to the needs of the employees, because what we've learned is that employee retention and happy employees and good employees are the backbone of a successful business. The number, as everyone who's involved in business knows, when you turn over an employee, it's approximately an $18,000 cost to hire a new employee, retrain, et cetera. And it's much more beneficial to everybody involved. The business owner, Mr. Schaefer, the consultant, myself, the employee, the community, everyone, to build a business where it's long-term and a living wage. And I keep talking about this, but it really is what, it's the backbone of success. You know, growing a plant, it's not that hard. A lot of people know how to do it. The harder part is managing the people that are doing the growing and setting the people up for success. And again, just really quickly, because we do this all the time. Somebody thinks that they want to be a grower and they're going, wow, I really want to be involved with the plant. I want to be hands-on with the plant. And then they come in and they work with the plant for whatever it might be, let's say 6 months. And they're like, oh my gosh, my back, I wasn't anticipating this much bending over or whatever it was. It could be anything. Could be they're allergic to the plant. Could be lots of different reasons. I've heard them all, to tell you the truth. And this is where, rather than being a business that's operating solely as we're siloed all within the state law, but we have the ability to recommend to the HR department, like for example, in provisioning, hey, we've got a great employee and it's not working out for them in cultivation. We'd like you to interview them for a retail position. So you've got the individual business, and then you've got the greater whole of this campus concept for Flint. And it's just going to be really cool. And Mr. Schaefer has this great background in the automotive industry with product development and all this experience. And these two businesses, there's just a real symbiotic relationship between them. And again, this is just going to be a really good thing. So if you have more specific questions, I'm more than happy, as detailed as you want. I can drill down to the tiniest nut and bolt on this thing, however you want to go.
Okay, questions from the commission to the applicant? Well, what is your, I'm looking at your filtration system and emissions out into the neighborhood or the area around you. Yeah, I see you got clean air, clean room. What filtration system are you using to make sure that in passing by, people don't get a marijuana smell?
Right. Great question. I understand you're talking about the exhaust. Real quickly on the intake, our intake is proprietary. It's something that we've developed and built ourselves. On the exhaust side, it really is, it's universal and ubiquitous. It's charcoal filtration. Essentially, there's lots of fancy names for it where companies have built relatively sophisticated packaging for what really is carbon filtration, which removes, it's up in the high 90s. It's like 99% of the particulate matter. So all of the exhausted air will go through industry proven carbon filtration, which eliminates the vast majority of the smell. In many instances, people can't smell it at all. And what we do, which isn't necessarily proprietary, but it's definitely on the more sophisticated side of things, is we have very limited air exchanges. So we're very, very careful about the air that we do exhaust. And we're introducing CO2 into the grow rooms with the plants because that helps with plant growth. It spurns plant growth and or promotes plant growth rather. And so we generally do what we call air exchanges a day, and they're very short. So it's not a constant exhausting of the filtered air. And we generally time it to happen at like 1 a.m. so that, number one, we're filtering it to the greatest extent that the industry allows. And number two is it's not, exhausting in the middle of the day where there's going to be or tend to be more people outside and around the building. And
I would just like to add one thing to anything that we're talking about here. Is that if I've learned one thing in the last couple of years as this application has gone forward and looking at the different applicability of different technologies and new changes, this is a relatively young industry. I would not only say that we will be looking at anything that can come up in this kind of a nature, where is there a better mousetrap out there? Number one. Number two, I would encourage anybody on this commission or this committee, excuse me, or anybody that hears anything, I would encourage them to come to our door and talk to us about it. We want to hear about any kind of feedback like that. Certainly, we don't want to offend anybody with the smell of this. And our system is put in place right now. However, if there's a better mousetrap, we are all ears. At least that's the way that we've always run a business.
And that's exactly it. And obviously, based on the comment of the neighbor, I think it's probably relatively safe to assume that the neighbor is going to be watching us really closely.
I've written his name down. I'm going to try and reach out and talk to him too.
Yeah, and we're going to have to, it's going to be up to us to educate that neighbor on how we're going to be good neighbors, and we're going to take that seriously.
Yeah.
And part of that is odor. We're well aware.
Other questions from the commission to the applicant?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell again. Mr. Barton, as I asked in the last public hearing, and this may be a little bit more intense, the whole process of waste management and processing.
Right. So in Michigan, because we Essentially, what we will do is, number one, as I mentioned previously, every plant is tracked. So
Correct.
you really only have two sources of waste in cultivation. You've got nutrient waste and you've got plant waste. The nutrient waste is absolutely minimized because we recirculate our nutrients in a closed loop hydroponic system. So what's happening there is you've got your base of, we break down our water through reverse osmosis to an absolute base. Then we rebuild it, and then we introduce a nutrient or a recipe of nutrients. And those are introduced on a parts per million basis and measured on a parts per million basis. And it's a combination of automation with, eyes on manual double, triple checking, because obviously you don't want to get your recipes wrong with your plants, or it can have adverse effects. And all you're really doing is the plant takes up the nutrient, and then the liquid, the water, recirculates back through the filtration system and makes sure that it's sterile and clean, and that if there's any issues with the plants, i.e. a potential disease that might have come into the building or whatever, which really is all it would be that would be detrimental, that's scrubbed out through the reverse osmosis system. And then the nutrients are brought back up to the correct parts per million. So unlike what's called a drain to waste, where you'll use the nutrient once and then a lot of people will overwater or what have you and send it down into the sewer system. We don't do that for a couple reasons. One is because nutrients are really expensive and we don't like sending money down the drain. This is a tough enough business as it is. And secondarily, because it's completely unnecessary. When you understand how the system works, you don't need to do it. So there is no nutrient waste. Now, plant waste, essentially what happens is the plant is grown and then the flower is removed from the plant. Then what you're left with is a stem, stems and what we call sun leaves or fan leaves, which don't have THC. And then those are ground up, and then we will contract with a Michigan approved waste disposal company who disposes of the waste as determined by Michigan state law. And all those weights will be batched out and tied to individual plant barcodes, and they will be reconciled. So for example, you harvest a room with 100 plants, you've got an anticipated amount, you already know your anticipated plant waste in weight because you just blended average and experience. That weight is reconciled with the number of plants. It's stored per Michigan law requirements and OSHA, medical marijuana requirements and OSHA both. And then it's disposed of as required by law, logged, and all entered into the state tracking system so that it all ties out in an annual audit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other comments from the commission to the applicant? Hearing none. Open it up for the public at this time. Is there anyone out there in the public, virtual America, wishing to speak in favor of PC 208384 SD Flint, number 4, request for a Group F special regulated use permit for a growing marijuana facility at 1871 Tower Street? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? Anyone wishing to speak in favor? KZ, if you have anyone on the line wishing
no
to
one.
speak? Nothing?
No.
Okay, that portion of the public hearing is now closed. Anyone wishing to oppose? PC 20384 SD Flint. Number 4 LLC request for a Group F special regulated use permit for a growing marijuana facility at 1871 Tower. Anyone wishing to oppose? The commissioner recognized that there was a letter sent that was opposed to all three processing, all three medical marijuana, processing marijuana, and growing facility. That letter has been added to the record. Anyone wishing to oppose? Anyone wishing to oppose?
There is
Busy?
no one.
Okay, thank you. That portion of the public hearing is now closed. What is the desire of the commission? What is the desire of the commission as to
Mr. Chair, this
PC 20? Go ahead.
This is Commissioner Jordan. I would move approval of PC 20-384, SD Flint number 4 LLC requesting a Group F special regulated use permit for a growing marijuana facility at 1871 Tower, PID 41-16-303-018.
Support? Do I hear support?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Sorensen, I'll support that.
It's moved and properly supported that PC 20384 SD Flint number 4 LLC request for a Group F special regulated use permit for a growing marijuana facility at 1871 Tower, Flint, Michigan. Any discussion? I'd just like to say in reviewing these three proposals, I was noted that I saw they noted the distance from churches and parks and recreational facility and outlined, you know, how they was going to operate their facility. And I think they gave some clear guidelines by which, when it comes to relicensing, we can check to see how close they came to meeting their projected goals. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Roll.
Commissioner Ryan. Commissioner Campbell.
Yes.
Commissioner Blauer.
Yes.
Commissioner Jewell.
Yes.
Commissioner Cook Hawkins. Commissioner Sorensen.
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan.
Yes.
Commissioner Wesley.
Yes. To the applicants, your PC 20384 SD Flint number 4 request for a Group F special regulated use permit for a growing marijuana facility at 1871 Tower, Flint, Michigan has been approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So
Good luck.
do you need
Go ahead.
anything more from me or I can sign out?
Thank you
You
very
can
much.
sign off.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Next is reports. Assistant City Attorney Kelly Thompson, status of the permanent marijuana ordinance.
Mr. Chair, this is Kelly Thompson. There have been no changes to the status of the proposed permanent marijuana ordinance since our last meeting.
Okay. You know, we had a discussion on Friday concerning whether or not you thought council would take a vote on. You've done everything that you have to do. Am I correct?
As far as I know, yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And would council take this ordinance? Well, I guess they have to go through their second reading, but we'll deal with that when we get to the zoning part. Anyone got any comments or concern they'd like to refer to?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, this is Commissioner Jewell. This is to Kelly. If I remember correctly, the emergency ordinance was reestablished, if that's an effective word. And when does that then expire?
This is Kelly Thompson. It was extended. That's the term I use anyway. And if you give
Okay.
me a second, I can tell you exactly when it expires. It's sometime in October, October 23rd.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chair, I find it fascinating as to the number of extensions that have been approved as an emergency ordinance, and if there is additional ways in which conversations can be pursued in regards to moving forward, it would probably be appropriate.
This is Commissioner Jordan. I would just chime in that both regarding this and the future item on our agenda here around the zoning ordinance, I have reached out to my own council person just to make sure that they had access to any information that they might require, and that they were clear that we had already done our part, so to speak, as a commission, and that the ball was, you know, in their court and ready to be acted upon in whatever manner they saw fit. I don't know if others have also had similar conversations with the council people, but you know, that is one avenue available to us in order to make sure that our counterparts are as well equipped as they can be to move this forward, should they so choose.
Okay. Yeah, that same here with the zoning. I didn't actually deal with the marijuana issue. But hopefully we can get this thing off of, well, actively talked about now, you know, as opposed to let it still sit on somebody's desk or in a queue somewhere that keep getting pushed aside. I know Suzanne is not going to be here. Staff of the draft zoning ordinance. That's been done in the capital improvement. Casey and Savannah Cook, I think she said that you might have something, or is this part of the zoning? Because I thought at one time she was willing to send the zoning ordinance to council if they was to accept it as it is right now and without any revisions, with the understanding that, you know, revisions could come at any time. It's not a document set in stone. What is the thought of the commission? Before I hear anything from Elizabeth, you were part of our meeting on Friday. It was your understanding, maybe you explain it a little differently than what I would, about the zoning ordinance as far as going to council now?
Right. So and this is based on what Suzanne shared when we had our monthly check-in meeting with her that Bob and I do each month. She shared that initially it had been the council's wish to hear the marijuana ordinance before taking up the zoning ordinance. And so that had been the operating assumption for staff since that time, which has now been, you know, probably more than a year. She'd had some recent conversation with some people on city council that made it seem as though perhaps there was an appetite to look at doing them concurrently. And I think that she expressed that staff may have some limitations in terms of their bandwidth and their ability to be able to do both processes at once. But if there was appetite within council to look at adopting the zoning, sorry, mosquito, adopting the zoning ordinance as is, as opposed to going through an elaborate process of making many revisions to it, that could be a doable proposition. So again, depending on where council members are at, that would be one approach they could take. She felt that staff didn't currently have the ability to manage an in-depth process of doing both the marijuana and zoning code ordinances. If council wanted to move forward with zoning code as is, with the notion that you can always make changes down the line, that was something that staff could try to support if that's where council wanted to go.
So I guess the thing of it is we can each touch base with our council person and see if they'd be willing to do something along those lines. Try to get this thing official.
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Jewell. I guess the question I would just ask outright, is it on council's agenda?
I don't know
if because if it's not on council agenda, the next question is, why is it not on council agenda for action?
Mr. Chair, this is Kelly Thompson.
Yeah, Kelly.
I have access to the agendas. I haven't frankly looked at them since I had to cover the last council meeting, so I can't say for sure. But I know it's on their radar. I've talked to a couple members of council and in addition to their staff, and I know that it's on their radar, this along with the proposed permanent marijuana ordinance. So whether or not it's listed on each agenda, I know it is on their radar and on the docket to be added to the agenda at some point in time soon.
Yeah, I guess what would be the process, Kelly, if you know, to get it on council's agenda?
That's a great question. That's been a standing question of mine for some time since I took over as staff attorney for the commission. I don't know what exactly that process is or who the gatekeeper is for adding a specific item to their agenda. But it's been a standing request of mine that it be considered as soon as possible, at least for the marijuana ordinance anyway.
Yeah, I guess I could call the president of the council, and I had a conversation with her today and say, how do we get something on your agenda so at least get talked about?
Mr. Chair, again, this is Commissioner Jewell. I guess the open-ended questions, which to me are extremely obvious, why isn't it on the agenda? We as the Planning Commission have already fulfilled our responsibility, had those materials for both ordinances forwarded to them. Is the city administrator aware of the dynamics that are occurring? Is the mayor aware of the dynamics that are occurring? Is the mayor and the president of the council chatting regarding city ordinances and needs for such? Because the larger question could be, we're not just talking a month or two, we're talking months. And then the larger question could be posed is, what if the public starts asking, why are these items not being addressed? What if the media starts raising the questions? How is the leadership of the council and the leadership of the city administration going to address those items?
Yeah, I know we've gotten it off our desk for some time ago.
Yeah, I mean, we have.
I think at one time it was on the agenda, and it got postponed, adjourned, postponed, adjourned until it adjourned itself right on off of the agenda in somebody's never land. So.
Right. So I just, Mr. Chair and my fellow commissioners, I just raise that as an open-ended question, because when the questions are starting to be asked, it's not the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission, to my understanding, has done their job, made their recommendations, passed those recommendations on, and there seems to be a glitch someplace, which then the leadership both for the council and the leadership for the administration, needs to seriously take a look at that, especially if general public or select groups of the public or selected groups or interest groups within the community, or if the general media starts asking those questions. How is the city administration and the city council leadership going to respond to that? I know how our chairperson of the planning commission is going to respond because we already have for every meeting.
Right.
So just food for thought and commentary.
I don't know. Maybe we can draft another letter of some sort and send to the council. I don't know. I would say send it to council and the administration about getting this done. I don't know if we want to rustle those feathers or say, hey, what are you guys doing?
Well, in all fairness, as noted in our bylaws or our proposed bylaws, our chair is our spokesperson for the planning commission and the work that we do. To me, it may be only appropriate that a meeting be set with the leadership of the council and the leadership of the city administration to clarify the status of these two particular ordinances, the draft zoning ordinance and the marijuana ordinance.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
this is Commissioner Campbell. I'm looking at my calendar, so if the amendment for the marijuana is not approved by the 12th, we're going to probably lose out on that, correct? This is due by it ends on the 23rd. Kelly? October 23rd?
This is Kelly Thompson, right? The current emergency ordinance expires on the 23rd of October. And at that time, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm saying, yeah, so the 12th is really the only time they're going to be meeting to get something to us in order to get this done by the 23rd.
Right, without an additional extension of the emergency ordinance,
exactly.
yes.
Exactly.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Jewell again. It's a very, from my perspective, I mean, to me, it's a very simple thing. You talk to the leadership of the council and you talk to the leadership of the administration, city administrator and the mayor and the president and vice president of the council. I mean, when I cross paths with the mayor and he starts asking me, how are things going?
What you say?
No, I said when he does, okay?
Oh. Yeah. So we stuck in mud.
Yeah, I mean, he was, when he was a city council person, he was my council person. I would always keep him appraised of issues, good, bad, or indifferent. But I always defer to the fact that, you know, the commission works as a body as a whole, and that speaking on and that representation of the commission is done through the chair.
Okay.
I just think I think staff and council and administration may find themselves in a very interesting and possible precarious and questioning scenario.
Okay, I'll reach out to president of the council and to my council person and see why we go about, you know, a discussion as far as them taking the zoning ordinance as is, with the understanding that they can always make changes to it after it's been approved. I would do that. Okay. Anything else for the capital improvement? I think we had a discussion on that on Friday. And Eric, say his name for me, Elizabeth. Eric's name.
Or Sony.
Yeah, I get tongue tied when I said it. They were they working on that for 2021?
Yeah, that was the gist of it is, as we all know, the function of the capital improvement plan is primarily around being a tool for budget planning. And given that the city's budget for the current year was adopted already, the July through June budget, that for all intents and purposes, it may be more constructive to focus on updating the capital improvement plan in terms of what projects have already been accomplished and any new needs, with an eye towards the next budgeting process. And when we met with Suzanne, she'd indicated that was something that Eric Scorsoni, who is an advisor for the for the city's budget process, that he was wanting to start on now, so that could inform the next year's budgeting process. So I know we've been very consistent in having that on our agenda every meeting, and this is my editorializing. I think we've done all we can to ensure that is present in our thoughts, and that we are asking about it each time. From a practical standpoint, if at this point it's more likely that we would have an influence over the following year's budget as opposed to the one that's now we're almost a quarter into.
Right, already passed. Okay. Next is staffing. And I understand we got a vacancy. Well, I guess we can discuss Bill and Casey. I think Suzanne was gonna let you guys update us on staffing. Is that? Or?
Commissioner West, is Bill Vandercook.
Yeah, Bill.
Suzanne Wilcox related to me this afternoon that she was working on the contract for Rowe, and that hopefully by the beginning of next week that they'd be under contract with Rowe.
And is it Corey?
That's my understanding.
Yeah. Corey, who's we all know is going to be
That person. Okay.
Yep, and he hit the ground running. That so that's good. I understand, and they've also have they posted for the planner for parks or something in that they were doing some interviews for that.
Casey, I think can speak about that. Is that okay, Casey, if you don't mind, or is that internal now, or is it something that we can discuss? I don't know that. I think Casey's on mute. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't catch it. It broke.
Casey, I don't know if we can share staffing for parks, or if that's internal right now.
I'm not too sure yet, but I know they are hiring. They have someone ready and about to get going. So I'll let Suzanne maybe give you an email to everyone, or you can talk about it in the next meeting.
Yeah, that'd be something we could discuss in the next meeting. Okay. No resolutions?
Commissioner Wesley, there are no resolutions.
Okay, not for the good business. Bylaw committee report. Everybody got their copies of the new bylaws? Kelly, you want to just give us an overview, and so give us an opportunity to review and develop any questions that anyone might have?
Yes, Mr. Chair, this is Callie Thompson. I have updated or revised the bylaws according to the committee meetings that we had. We referred significantly to a few other examples. The Planning Commission bylaws for the city of Ann Arbor, city of Grand Rapids, and city of Seattle, which, as we learned, Seattle wasn't quite as comparable to meet our needs, but we were still able to pull some useful provisions from their bylaws and add them to ours. I had a question. There's a section in here that references the urban renewal plan. This is on the bottom of page 5 and it continues to the top of page 6. It's in section 11, subsection C. And so that was just a minor detail, but I wanted to clarify. I added capital improvement plan, and our previous or our current bylaws, it just says master plan or urban renewal plan. And I added capital improvement plan in there just for good measure. If the commission.
Kelly?
Yes.
Okay, I'm online looking at this. I'm looking at the proposed bylaws 922. What article was that in?
This would be Article 6.
Article 6, okay, section,
Section
11.
11.
okay, that's fine. I got it. Go ahead.
So I was just looking for clarification from the commission if all 3 of those plans should be included in this, or just the master plan and urban renewal plan. So this is regarding.
Commissioner Bauer, what do you think? Commissioner Bauer? Carol Ann?
She might be muted.
I don't think she's on the call anymore. I'm looking at the
Oh, I
participants.
think you may have had to leave.
Oh, well, she should have told me she was exiting. Elizabeth.
Sure.
I
So I'll admit that I haven't had the opportunity yet to read carefully through the draft bylaws, but in terms of what sorts of things would make sense to me to include there, I think it does make sense to allude to the capital improvement plan. That is something that by state law we're required to do on an annual basis, and certainly updates to the master plan I think could make mention to include as well. I'll actually, my thought would be not to include the term urban renewal plan.
well, the urban renewal, I think, is in there, and she just wanted to include where that is in section 11. C, it says where it's showing is made in the application that substantial changes in conditions has occurred, the commission may consider regular new applications within 1 year of the previous hearing. A substantial change in condition must include, but not be limited to, one or more of the following: a zoning change, a land use change, a change in traffic patterns, and or a change in the master plan. And then she inserted then the capital improvement plan or the urban renewal plan.
Right. So my reason for being hesitant about the use of the urban renewal plan language is twofold. Number one, I'm not sure that we have or have at any point recently had what might be called an urban renewal plan. So I'm not sure how current that language is in terms of the actual types of plans that we look to. And the second is getting more to, I could say, sociology. The term urban renewal is something that was in favor in the late 60s and through the 70s, but today has the connotation of basically decimating neighborhoods of color in order to make room for expressways and other large infrastructure projects. And so I think
they were, this is Commissioner Jewell. In fact, the nickname was not an urban renewal plan, it was an urban removal plan.
Yeah.
Right.
That was one of the things.
So I think that language of urban renewal plan is probably something that's lingering from a previous era, but doesn't really speak to either the actual types of plans that we look at now, or really the framework of, I'll call it social equity and community engagement that we would orient ourselves towards currently. So I would favor removing that language and keeping the other additions that have been suggested. If anything, I would say perhaps we do neighborhood plans now. And so maybe substituting neighborhood plan could be something that's more contemporary and appropriate.
Yeah.
And it's just neighborhood plans?
I would suggest if we're looking at any type of, plans that we actually do, that there are a number of neighborhood plans. Planning is a initiative that the City of Flint Planning Department currently engages in with several different.
X out urban renewal. Ms. Campbell,
Yes, sir.
do you have any comments on that?
No, I go along with the suggestion of saying neighborhood plans versus urban renewal.
Okay. Sorensen?
I can agree with that as well. Commissioner Jordan's input on that.
Okay. Did I miss anyone? And I got Jewel already on his. All right.
This is Commissioner Jewell. I was just going to compliment on a job well done to start with. Very concise, very focused, gives a good overview. In fact, Commissioner Sorensen and Commissioner Cook Hawkins could probably be great reviewers as being new to the Planning Commission, and them seeing this and to what extent it helps provide some parameters. The concern that I would have both for this one is that not on the document itself, nowhere does it say proposed or draft. So I would recommend to Kelly that
it says draft. If you print it off, it's got big old draft right on the thing there.
Okay, well, I'm looking at my modern technology thing right on the screen, so I'm always appreciate it being updated and corrected and provided stuff. So again, thank you.
Yeah,
I did add that watermark per your recommendation from the last meeting, so that watermark was added. And I noticed on my computer screen in the office, it's I don't know if it's the contrast settings, but you can't see the watermark as prominently as you can once it's printed or on my laptop screen. So
yeah, once it's printed, it got draft all stamped through it. Boom.
Oh, I think I just made a mistake. I just threw water on my screen.
Okay.
That wouldn't show the mark through it by throwing water on the screen, would it? No. Little humor there.
No,
yes,
it wouldn't.
Okay.
So
job well done.
So we review this in its entirety and put it on our agenda for our next meeting for action.
Mr. Chair, again, this is Commissioner Jewell. You as chair can place items on the agenda for action versus us necessarily making a motion, but it seems appropriate to send out another notice or send a hard copy of this with the drafting on it to folks in our next packet, and again to have folks review it. And then I think Kelly, I think you recommended to have under resolutions, to have this placed under resolutions, because we as the Planning Commission would be making a resolution for approval. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, it'll be in resolutions, okay.
And Mr. Chair, if I may, I think to make the review process a bit more efficient now that we've opened it up for review by all the commission members, if there are any suggested revisions or changes to the proposed bylaws that any members have, they could email those to me as they're reviewing this, and I can compile all of that and have it with me at the next meeting. So you don't have to keep notes on your own and throw it all out at the next meeting, that can be emailed to me individually.
Okay. I need to turn a light on here, though I won't be seen. Hey, Marcia? Anyway, okay. Did the commissioners make note of that? Any comments or changes that you like after you review this? Would you contact Attorney Thompson, and she will include them for our review at our next meeting on the resolutions?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Commissioner Campbell, I need to drop off. I have a Zoom meeting waiting for me.
Okay.
Are
All
we gonna
right.
be-
Will we have a quorum?
You should. It's only that myself and Ms. Flower and Mr. No, I don't know. I'll stay on it. You won't have enough.
Well, we got, I think we're done with that. And status of the roster, membership roster. Bill,
Yeah, quickly.
I know you guys can get in contact with, who that?
I'm sorry, that was me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Commissioner Wesley,
Yeah.
Suzanne Wilcox informed me she has a meeting with the clerk's office on Thursday of this week to fill in the blanks, is my understanding.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll have all the information by the next meeting.
All right. Good enough. What about the orientation booklet? I think when we talked on Fridays, gonna see about ordering those.
We did. There's a planning commissioner's toolkit booklet that we can order. It provides information in a tab, easy to use format. It equips new planning commissioners with the master planning, zoning ordinance, preparation for a meeting, understanding development proposals, and much more. I can order those. I didn't until I got the approval of the commission, that's what they're looking for.
Approval of the planning commission?
Well, that's what you wanted me to order. There's a planning and zoning essentials is another booklet that we could order, which is the companion manual to our most requested training. Provides an overview on planning commission and zoning board of appeals duties and how to make effective decisions. So there's two different booklets. Looks like, that we can order. Planning Commission's toolkit booklet or planning and zoning essentials.
Or Mr. Chair, both.
Okay. I'll discuss that with Suzanne tomorrow and order the booklets. Regarding the list that was sent, that was prepared by, I understand, Commissioner Jewell and Commissioner Jordan. The list is extensive, and so I'll put together before next meeting as much as the information I can. That'll also be a draft for review, and we'll have to build upon that as we go.
Okay. All right, we'll discuss that if we have another meeting prior to that, our meeting.
Okay.
All right. Any new business? No new business? Hey, I think we went a little longer than what we anticipated this time. Well, we took care of a lot of business. So here now, new business. The chair will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
It's been moved, supported. Thanks everybody for coming in. I smell